Hi, this is Kelsey McCarthy. For week 5, this lesson I chose to do 3rd grade, and this is focusing on equal groups. The standard and goal being met is that students will use mental strategies to fluently multiply and divide within 100. Materials needed for this activity are M&Ms and the Twizzler pull-aparts, and also students will be using whiteboards. Important vocabulary for this lesson include dividend, divisor, and quotient. That is something I will go over with the students. Introducing this lesson, I will begin by passing out the candy. This will immediately get students engaged. When passing out the candy, each student will get 24 of the M&Ms and 1 of the pull-apart Twizzlers. I will explain to the students that today we will be using candy to show them many different ways we can multiply and divide. I will first instruct them to make 3 circles with their Twizzler rings and to make groups. So first we would make the 3 groups. And like I mentioned earlier, each student will have their 24 M&Ms, and I will first instruct students to just take 12 of their M&Ms. They then are going to be instructed to take their 12 M&Ms that they have and split them up equally into the 3 groups they created with the pull-apart Twizzler. So we just go one by one to show the example for the students. We can see that each group ends up with 4 M&Ms. And I would also like students to have their whiteboards out and write the equations on their whiteboards while I write it out as well, so we can work through problems and see how they look with the equation written out in numbers and how the models look using our candy. Continuing this lesson, students, for their experimentation, they will work with their table groups to create 4 different equations to present to their class using provided candy for modeling their created equations. Going further into the explorative, how many M&Ms will there be in each group if we have 4 groups and 20 M&Ms? So this would be another one that we would work out as a class just to see that they are really picking it up. So we need to add 1 more string to make a group. And if we have 20 M&Ms, we can start by splitting those up equally into each group. Need 2 more. After that, students, we can all agree that when we have 4 groups and 20 M&Ms, they are all equal throughout the groups, and each group has 5 M&Ms. Teacher modeling, as I work together with the class, I will use the overhead to show some harder ones to go over, or if after students have presented their 4 equations they created with their groups, if there was a few numbers that students were getting tripped up on, this is a great time for us to go ahead and work those out. I would model it just like this on the overhead for students to see, to follow along as I work through that. Mastery work and assessment, I will present students with the candy models on the overhead and students are to use their whiteboard to write out the correct number equations to match the presented model. So as this one below, if this were what I were to lay out without saying a word, I would expect the students to write out on their whiteboards 4 times 5 equals 20. And a fun extension for this would be for students, we could play bingo as a class. This would really motivate them to work more quickly because whoever were to fill up their card and get the bingo would get some sort of prize or something like that. So this would be a really great way for students to see how quickly they're picking up the equations presented in front of them. I think that this is a great lesson to use because it keeps the students engaged and they're able to be hands-on working with their models. They can see how they can be manipulating different equations. It allows them to be visual. It's colorful. They get to be hands-on, work with their neighbors, and this is something that they could even do at home to practice on too. So I think it's a great one that really keeps them engaged when introducing multiplication and division, and seeing how to split things up equally is really great and relates to students because if they're sharing candy with their friends or classmates, I think that this would be a lesson they would look back on, remember, and would be able to sort out candy between themselves and friends very easily. Thanks for watching.